Hello and welcome to Diecast Restos. I'm Jason and today I'll be customising this Corgi Juniors Porsche 917. This sorry looking gold and red example is a 1971 to 1973 first edition. I sought out one of these as of the three variations to the model, this was the only one to feature a metal base and a clear transparency. I thought its livery was a clear nod to David Piper's 1970 Le Mans car, which had a yellow body and red accents on its lower extremities. That gave me an idea for a custom. So I grabbed these Creative 164 Porsche 917 wheels and a set of Le Mans decals replica decals and set to work. The Porsche was one of the earliest new castings to join the Corgi Juniors range that wasn't a conversion from the short-lived Rockets line or a layover from Husky. These models appeared in 1971 as Corgi owners Metoy released a flurry of new Whiz Wheels titled castings. This was in response to a lawsuit from Mattel, meaning Metoy had to withdraw the track that accompanied the Rockets range due to copyright infringement. The well-proportioned Porsche 917 in its gold and red livery came with a number 23 paper sticker on the very front. It had a plated plastic interior that also combined the exposed engine and rear assembly. This piece was retained for the two later versions of the model. It was the only offering to have a metal base and a clear transparency. Numbered 51A, it was seen in a 1972 Juniors catalogue with a flat mustard yellow body, but this was never produced. This appearance lasted until 1974 when it was replaced by a 917 with a newly moulded plastic base. This had a gear mechanism that rotated with the wheels. This gear connected with a piece of plastic that gave off a sound similar to an engine running. This series of models were called growlers. Who's that sniggering at the back? The Growler version of the 917 was painted in silver, had a black plastic base, and an amber tinted window piece. This setup ran until 1977. Again, it appeared in a 1975 catalogue in a different colour, this time in metallic maroon, but this never came to fruition. The Growler's model was numbered 94A. In 1979, it reappeared numbered 25B. This had a regular plastic base with the Growler's feature removed. The body was painted medium or dark metallic blue, and it had a dark red transparency. On top of the blue bodywork were red, white and blue Captain America stickers. After 1980, the 917 disappeared from the Corgi Juniors range. The original gold and red model arrived the year after the similarly coloured David Piper 917 had appeared at Le Mans. That was the year that the 917K was debuted. It was a development on the 917L or LH for Langheck. Langheck is German for long tail, while K stood for kurzheck, short tail. I've previously built a custom 917 LH from the 1970 24 Hours of Le Mans, which I'll link to here. The 917 had been introduced in 1969, developed on the footings of the 908 with one goal in mind, to win Le Mans outright. It was built on a light space frame chassis and it was teamed with a new 180-degree 4.5 litre Type 912 flat 12 engine, producing 520 horsepower. This had a large horizontally mounted cooling fan. In order to keep the car compact, the driving position saw the driver's legs extend beyond the front axle. The materials used in its construction included titanium, magnesium and other exotic alloys in order to keep its weight down. It was first run at the 1969 Le Mans test in March. It proved highly unstable even with its detachable long tail fitted. Its race debut came at the 1000 kilometers of Spa. 3 weeks later, it was the 1000 kilometers of the Nürburgring. All of Porsche's works drivers preferred the 908 over the 917 at the Green Hell. Keen to promote the car and sell the surplus of the 25 units built, Porsche drafted Englishman David Piper and Australian Frank Gardner to drive it. They would finish in 8th place overall. In practice at Le Mans, the 917s were quickest, but in the race, the first privateer to drive a 917, John Wolfe, died in a crash on lap 1. He had purchased his 917 just days before the event, and was claimed to have said the car scared the pants off him. The number 14 Works entry led the race early on, but succumbed to an oil leak after 15 hours. The other number 12 Works entry was leading by 50 miles before a gearbox breakage forced its retirement 3 hours from the finish. The 917 did eventually take a victory in 1969 at the Zeltweg 1000 km. Joe Siffert and Kurt Ahrens Jr. were the drivers. By now, Ferrari had begun their program to build a competitor to the 917, the 512. In the video outro, you'll see my recreation of one of the 512s from the 1970 24 Hours of Le Mans, together with this finished model. Facing this new competition and wanting to put the poor results of 1969 behind them, Porsche made an agreement with John Wyer and his JWA Golf team to become the official Porsche team for 1970 and a development partner. During tests at Zeltweg, Chief Engineer John Horseman noticed an array of dead bugs across the front of the car, but the tail was clean, indicating an airflow issue. A tail modification was cobbled together, which gave the 917 far more downforce. Brian Redman and Kurt Ahrens drove the car for 10 laps each and were both satisfied with the improvements. The car was dubbed the 917K for its new shortened tail. Porsche were not only utilising the 917 in the 1970 World Sportscar Championship. For the tighter, twistier circuits like the Nürburgring, Porsche favoured the 9083 development, while the 917 was reserved for events with greater straight-line speed potential. Porsche were offering close manufacturer support not only to JWA, but also to the Porsche Salzburg and Martini Racing teams. A new low-drag 917 LH was developed for Le Mans, which featured more downforce than the 1969 car. A new 4.9 litre engine was introduced, but this proved unreliable over larger distances. This produced 600 brake horsepower. Up to Le Mans, Porsche had won all but one of the 7 preceding World Sportscar Championship events, 4 of which were in 917Ks. In France, Golf JWA lined up 3 917Ks, 2 with the newer 4.9 litre engine and 1 with the 4.5 litre. Porsche Salzburg brought 2 917s, a white with red trim 917 LH which achieved pole position, and a red with white trim 917K. The other LH was entered by Martini Racing. The 7th and final 917 to start the race was the entry of David Piper and Hees van Lennep, which I'm of course recreating here. This car was a 917K powered by the older 4.5 litre flat 12. 2 917s were also withdrawn and did not start, one from Porsche Salzburg and the other from JWA. Jackie Stewart and Steve McQueen were due to compete in the JWA car, but their entry was not accepted. It was the first Le Mans race to do away with the classic Le Mans running start, as Vic Elford in the number 25 LH led the field away. The number 21 JWA 917 retired after 4 hours with a blown engine following a cooling fan failure. The weather was poor moving into the evening, and by 10 PM the rain was torrential. Mike Hailwood in the number 22 JWA car crashed into a spun out Alfa Romeo in difficult conditions. Then David Piper in the number 18 car spun out at the S's while in third, damaging the suspension. Later, while Van Lennep was driving, he experienced a tyre blowout on the Mulsanne straight. The chassis damage was too severe to continue. After building up a 10-lap lead by 2 AM, Joe Siffert in his JWA car missed a gear and broke the engine. Then at 8:30 AM, the pole position car stopped with engine problems. The number 23 Porsche Salzburg car of Hans Hermann and Richard Atwood would ultimately take victory in a race of attrition in their 4.5 litre 917K. The 917 LH of the Martini team finished second, the only other running 917. And with that, I'll leave the 917 story there and save it for another day. Here was how the Corgi Juniors Porsche 917 started out, with its wonky rear axle, damaged canopy and hand-drawn markings. I wanted this of all the Corgi Juniors 917s as it benefited from that solid metal base and a clear transparency. Annoyingly, the transparency is probably a little too far gone, but I'll swap it out once I get hold of a better condition one. So here's how this one now looks. I think that this livery is what inspired the gold and red combination that Corgi chose. As always, Le Mans decals have smashed it with these quality decals. The only additions that I needed in that department were the headlights. What do you think of those? Are they an improvement over my usual painted in method? I took the time to also add in some of the rear framework beneath the tail, plus I teamed the casting to some period Creative 164 wheels. It's a shame about the window. These castings are getting rarer, so it's harder and harder to come by one in a decent condition, but I'll certainly swap it out as soon as I can. Let me know your thoughts on the build and the video down in the comments, and be sure to leave a like as well. Help support the channel on Patreon or YouTube memberships from just £1 per month if you can. So all that leaves me to say is thanks for watching, and I'll see you again for the next one. Bye for now.